So, we are here to talk about our wonderful collaboration, Barbara and I. Barbara, you may sit down and come up. So I'm going to talk a little bit about my passion as a Dean of Nursing, which is to create the next generation of nurses and healthcare leaders, which frankly are going to take care of all of you. And so it's an important mission. And it's one that I am very, very proud of. So this is a picture of rushing. I'm a trauma critical care nurse, so I know how to rush around. I know when it's important to take good care of people. If you're in an accident, you want somebody to move quickly. But what's happening in healthcare today is everybody's moving quickly all the time. And I decided as a dean, I came here from UCSF. Before that, I ran the undergrad nursing program at Georgetown all through the 90s, so I'm back home in a way. What I decided I wanted to do was to create the next generation of nurses and healthcare leaders that would be present, be fully present for their patients and families and each other, and to actually create a healthy work environment, not only at my institution in the school, but also in the hospital. So it's a dedicated work that I've been doing with a wonderful team at the University of Virginia. And I know we mentioned PTSD, but I think you might want to know that healthcare providers also have it, especially today with our complex, chaotic environment that I'm not going to talk about, but it's featured with burnout, post-traumatic stress syndrome, as well as moral distress. In fact, one of our wonderful medical students who graduated last year, Pranay, Marcia and I were just talking about how much we loved him. He is at Yale right now, and he just wrote an op-ed piece in the New York Times in September about why physicians commit suicide. You might not know that 400 physicians every year commit suicide. This is a heartbreak to me. These are my colleagues. And what can we all be doing to recognize and care for each other so that this heartbreak doesn't happen in the healthcare field? So who burns out and why? We actually have done studies, not me personally, the royal we out there. The healthcare community has done some amazing studies that show some of what we're talking about tonight actually can help burnout, in addition to family support. But these contemplative practices can actually really and truly help. So this is a mandate that I take very seriously. We call it our Resiliency Initiative at the University of Virginia. We're teaching our nurses that it is just as important to learn how to not only give medication safely, which you see here, but also to take care of yourself. And what does taking care of yourself mean? Well, we've described it as the Compassionate Care Initiative. This is our vision. We want to have safe and high-functioning health care. We're all about safety, but we want to have healthy and happy nurses, physicians, other healthcare workers. And we really want to bring the heart and soul back into healthcare, which many people think it has eroded right now. So we wrote a paper, it's Huffington Post, a little op-ed piece a while ago, on the architecture of resilience. What does it really mean? And you can see some of the practices here that we're going to be talking about this evening. Meditation, yoga, reflective writing, deep breathing, which we just did, and it felt good, Fred. Thank you. In fact, if I could just note, it seemed at one point like we were all breathing together. Physical exercise make for happier, stronger, more centered clinicians. And this is what I think this art and wellness and contemplation is really about, and is it a signature of the graduates of the University of Virginia School of Nursing. So I'm going to now invite my colleague Barbara to come up because my students are actually taking her course and workshop, and it's magic.
Thank you. That's very nice. And thank you all for being here. It's wonderful to see this kind of interest in such an important topic that we have tonight. What I'm going to do tonight is show you a very brief overview, an arc of experience, really, of contemplation in action. Drawing Attention is a workshop that I gave at UVA at Open Grounds. And as Dorrie said, some of her students attended, Fred attended, Lindsay from Open Grounds was there. And what I will show you are some initial drawings of the methodology in the workshop that I also use in my teaching at UVA. So you'll see a whole arc of very early drawings, initial drawings, and then drawings that are done at the end of the semester, at the end of 11 weeks, meeting twice a week for about 2 hours each session, twice a week. Before I show you those, I'd really like to then think about not what contemplation is, but what it does. And some of you might be familiar with Zen koans, and that's really what drawing is about. A Zen koan is a training device that is used in Rinzai Zen Buddhist practice. You might know what is the hand of one hand, what is the sound of one hand clapping. There are actually answers to those riddles, and those answers are demonstrated. The actualization is demonstrated. It's not intellectualized. So really that's what we're doing here in this drawing workshop. Learning to draw, I really believe, is learning to see. But when we think about drawing, when we all think about drawing, we usually think about a external photographic representation of an object that's out there, so a still life or a landscape. But what this drawing workshop does and what my drawing methodologies are about a representation of oneself to oneself. So the object and the subject is the person that is doing the drawing. And it's through very, very simple techniques and very simple materials of paper and pencil. So I'm going to show you these are first drawings, I call baseline drawings, and they might be similar to the ones that you would do. Now, one thing I want to remind you of is that wherever you stopped drawing, whenever you stop drawing, is where you will start drawing. So if you were admonished at 6 or 7 that your apple didn't look like an apple and it looked like a train wreck, when you start drawing again at 60 or 70, you will draw like you were 6 or 7. So what this workshop does is release that imprint so that you're able to be fully present with who you are in the moment. These are first drawings. I want you to also see, these are 18 by 24 inches, and I want you to see how tentative the drawings are. Those lines that you see on the right-hand side, those diagonals are actually the student crumbled up the drawing. They were so angry about how it looked, and I flattened it out. But there's a sense of tentativeness. There's a centralized image. There isn't an occupation of the entire space. The metaphor is of the person that is also doing the drawing. They're isolated, they're not occupied, they're not engaged with the environment. What happens in these first drawings also is that the attention of either in the workshop and in my classes is that maybe the students can pay attention for maybe 3 minutes, maybe 4 minutes. At 5 minutes, forget about it. What happens is there is a palpable sense of anxiety. The pencil that they're using starts to get strangled, as if holding onto a pencil tighter makes concentration better. Ears and shoulders start to meet with each other, and breathing kind of stops. So what happens is that we try to release all of that. And then in later drawings, and this is done by the same person, by the way, the drawing on the left was done 20 minutes prior to the drawing on the right. So these are very simple exercises, paying attention, being present. And what happens even at this stage with the students is that they start to talk about how their concentration gets better. Their grades start to improve. When they go on job interviews, they're able to do these simple exercises and be present in the interview. They don't look at their phones. They look at their person that they're talking with. That's actually huge. And what happens then is this. These are at week 11, the same students. These are 22 by 30-inch drawings. Again, obviously, there's a lot of accomplishment here in the formal issues, but look at how the fulfillment, the occupying of all the space. These, again, initial first drawings, same drawings of the people that you saw earlier. Now, and even whether it's a pattern and not a recognizable image, because that's the goal is to recognize oneself and to be fully present. So the question changes from, am I doing this right, to how am I seeing this? It's a very, very different question that actually engenders a lot of compassion. So I wanted to just close with also this idea of contemplation sometimes means slowness and very pedantic, but for me, contemplation actually means awareness. and paying attention. So that top image that you're looking at is Frank Geary's first impulse of when he went to Bilbao. That was done in about 95 seconds by Frank. And he went to, so this is him looking at the site of Bilbao, making this very, very quick gesture drawing is what we call them, and then later the magnificent Bilbao Museum. So how that's translated in my classes are these full-size gesture drawings. The paper is cut to the size of the student. These are 90-minute drawings done in 90 drawings done in 90 minutes. So again, there's a fully engaged with the activity. And that is really, after all, what we're interested in. We're interested in an integrated life. And I'll then bring this back to Dorrie, who has some great news actually about the nursing center too.
Thank you.
There you go.
So 2 examples of what we're doing here. One of my wonderful students, Jane Muir, just received a Lown Institute grant. It's very modest funding, but she is looking at how if we train people to pay attention, if we train healthcare providers to truly pay attention, can we have more efficient care? Can we reduce medical costs and redundancy? And truly, can we have more compassion at the bedside? And so this is a very small grant, but it's a project. It's going on right now, a series of workshops, and it's really amazing work. And there's a partner with the School of Medicine as well, Andy Starr. So our Compassionate Care Initiative has a lofty goal to reduce human suffering by cultivating compassionate people and systems. I think we're on the right track. I wanted to just draw your attention to a program. It starts on Sunday. It's a combination of our collaboration with NPR, David Freudberg's program on our Compassionate Care Initiative to talk about how do we create resilient practitioners. And you can hear it on humanmedia.org. So thank you very much for your attention.